Welcome to another edition of Interruption. I'm your host, Otis Smith. Once again, I have him back, the Atlanta Falcons beat writer, D. Orlando Ledbetter. We're here today to talk about the Falcons draft, the 2021 Falcons NFL draft. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Otis. Thanks for having me on the interruption again.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Uh, you know, I when I first looked at the draft, the Falcons draft at face value, I thought they had a great draft. And then I started to kind of dive, into it a little bit more. And I saw some things that I, too much didn't, indifference. I don't want to say like, just indifference because these young men have yet to, get on the field and play. And so I wanted to start with first, what was your thoughts on the how they did overall? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I gave them a overall A minus. I would have preferred the lineman. From a football sense, traditional blocking and tackling.
Right,
When you can't run the ball and you can't protect the quarterback, you don't really need a tight end. You know what I mean?
right.
But unless the tight end is Kellen Winslow Senior, which everybody says he is, you figure out, hey, I can find the blocking somewhere else. So I understood that, and then I thought throughout the second and third day, they made
Mhm.
some solid moves. If all these guys, you got to look at them if they hit their top side.
Sure.
None of them are 100% of that's never going to happen. So
Right, right.
you want to hit on 30% of your draft picks. But after the draft, looking at if they hit their top side, then you might have some football players in this group. May have a lot of football players in this group, may have one or two. So, we look at it three years down the road, and
Correct.
we can tell right away. 3 years in, we knew Tack wasn't going to be a ball player.
Right.
Vic had us fooled. You know, his third year, he got 15.5 sacks. So yeah, you signing up for more of that. So that's where I was at with the draft. I thought real solid moves. I could see where most of these guys could make it on the
Hmm.
field, and where they could, if they achieve at their highest level, they could certainly help the Falcons out.
Well, let me go to the first pick. When I was sitting there and I was on the phone with my cousin, and I said, "Oh man, he's there." Justin Fields. I was like, "He's there," because you didn't know if the 49ers would take him or Trey Lance, who they did end up taking. And I was having a conversation with. I like the player, right? I like Kyle Pitts. I think he's a wonderful talent. I think he's going to be great in the NFL. I just didn't like him for the Falcons. And my reason for this was because, like you and I had talked about earlier, if you take the quarterback, we know you have to play Matt Ryan, because he's just too much dead cap this year and next year. So after you move on from Matt Ryan, you have a quarterback that knows your system. He's knows how to be a pro. He's ready to go in and start. And then you have a guy like Calvin Ridley, right, who would be more of a veteran leader of the team, along with other pieces that you would put around Justin Fields. And what I didn't like with the pick with Calvin Pitts also was watching him at Florida. He was more of a flex tight end, out wide, whereas they want to run a power running game. So with a power running game, you have a tight end that's used to being flex and not having hands in the dirt. If he can't run block, I'm not saying that he can't. I'm saying if it turns out that he's not a good run blocker, then you're gonna tip your hand because you're gonna have to bring him off the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question about it. He's definitely a F tight end and not the Y tight end.
Right.
They only have one, the Lee Smith kid. So they gotta he's only 20 though,
Sure.
Otis. And so I'm thinking, by 22,
Okay.
he'll be fine, if he hits the weights and everything, unless he's one of them basketball pretty boys that don't want to lift weights. uh, he's gonna have a hard time there at tight end. So
Right.
yeah, the blocking was a concern, but they saw enough in the passing game to
Sure.
not worry about that. That's the part you can teach. Some of it you can't teach. There's
True.
some of the skills that he has. So Justin Peel, former Falcon, is the tight ends coach, done a great job post career coaching up there with the Eagles. Got him a Super Bowl ring,
Right.
and Coach Zach Ertz up. So and Justin came into the league with the Chargers. He was the fourth round pick the same
Hmm.
year they had Antonio Gates.
Yeah,
So
I remember.
Antonio was undrafted and ended up taking his job basically. And he ends up in Miami with Randy McMichael, and then here for a stint, 0809.
Okay.
But super smart dude, academic All-American all 4 years at Oregon, when they were rolling with
Sure.
Joy Harrington and so forth. But yeah, a lot of people like him. He's a smart guy, real intense dude, and he's gonna make sure that Kyle Pitts turns into a blocker. So I'm confident of
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Might not be this year, but
Sure. Sure. Well,
might
I
take a little
understand the
bit.
rookie. Yeah. Yeah.
Might take a little while, but he'll be fine on the blocking.
Now the second pick. Listen. Here's. Let me ask you your thoughts on the second pick, man, because I people forget they had the 35th pick overall. They had it, and they
Mhm.
traded back. Now here's the funny part. Now the player they got, oh man, beautiful, great safety. Everybody that knows me know I'm a Washington football team fan, and I wanted Richie Grant. I wanted it, and so when I saw Atlanta took him, I was like, wow, wow. But then I saw who went number 35. And I
Mhm.
said, we needed a running back. That was a perfect spot. He was there at 35, but we traded back. What was your thoughts on those two dynamics? Yet still getting a great player, but could have
Mhm.
solved the long term the running back position.
Yeah, Javante Williams is who we're talking about, number
Correct.
35. And,
Yeah.
so this is the second year in a row that their pick was traded and used for a running back. J.K. Dobbins was the pick last year with Baltimore when they got
Right.
the Hurst trade, got the second round pick there. And so Denver goes out and gets Javante Williams, who I thought was the best of the North Carolina backs, the best
Right.
one out of the
Hmm.
Najee and ETN group. And then the trade, they went back, they picked up another fourth, so 116th, and used that, I believe, on Mayfield. But they were going quality, they were going quantity over quality there. They could have
Right.
fixed the running back, but they got a chance to maybe help the secondary and the O line, which was in more dire straits than the
Correct.
running back situation. So yeah, you could have got the running back, but then you would have been looking for a lineman next, and then safety. The safeties would have been gone, and so I understood what they tried to do. That the I didn't break this down with my buddy Jason Butts, who was helping through, but no S,
Hmm.
helping through the draft, is now going on a private sector work. He said, "Hey, why did the Bengals get so much for their spots, and the Falcons didn't get as much as they should have for going back?" So I didn't do the trade value chart on that. Sound like they might have, came up a little short on that side of the trade, but we'll have time to break that down here in the next couple of
Well,
weeks.
well, it could have been because it could have been a phone call, and sometimes when it's a phone call prior to the draft or prior to the day before, right? You don't have time to really haggle back and forth. You know what the compensation is. You either tell them what you want, or they tell you what they'll give, and you can, because the draft is not, the timing is not like it used to be. You remember, it used to be a long time for a team would make a
Yeah.
pick, and now they have to kind of hurry up. Um, the Jalen Mayfield pick I did like, and only reason I liked it was the fact that Michigan puts out offensive linemen. If they don't do anything else, they gonna put some offensive linemen in the league that will play 10 and 15 years. So I thought that was a good pick. Where I started to get concerned, Orlando, was the their picks at cornerback. kind of concerned because I thought some other better corners were there on the board each time that they picked. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm fine with Hall, but there were definitely some other corners ahead of him. But that's a deal where they knew him. John Hoke, the new secondary coach, is Brady
Okay.
Hoke's older brother, and
Okay.
his
Okay.
son is Darren's position coach at San Diego State. So they probably overdrafted him because they had better information on good kid and all that kind of good stuff there. So they know he's gonna play. They know he's gonna be dependable. I looked at him as a slot corner. I saw him
Right.
coming off the edge down there. Taking away the slot receiver. So yeah, you could have. There was some more talent out there, but sometimes dependability and intangibles trump the talent. When you get
Sure.
into the fourth round, you want to get guys can at least make the team and so forth. So they already knew that and went with Hall. I liked his comparisons to KZ when he went to San Diego State. They gave him
Yes.
KZ's number. So that's a good sign, and he fulfilled it and did a good job there for the Aztecs. So yeah. Sometimes it's putting the roster together, and they say they're taking the best player available, but they still got to pay homage to some of their needs, and they needed a cornerback. The second one, Avery Williams, he's not. I didn't like his cover numbers at all. Well, he was clearly not taken to be a cornerback. He was taken to be a returner. And they're
Right.
talking about playing him on offense. And I think it's at receiver. As a
Okay.
running
So
back, the running backs coach wouldn't claim him yesterday when we talked to him. He's like, well, I don't know if he's in my meeting or the running back. So I was like, okay, that's wide receiver. If he doesn't know
if you
that
don't
he's
know,
right, if he don't know, that's running receiver then. So
and
we'll
they
see
have a
how
lot
that.
of needs. They have a lot of needs, and so it's kind of hard to go through a draft and try to hit on every single need. It's just because then you're starting to reach for players just
Mhm,
because you're
mhm.
trying to fill a need. I did like the pick, the D lineman, Taquan Graham. I did like that pick. Uh, we still need help. Atlanta still needs help at the D line. By the time they got to what he was fourth round, like you said, this draft was okay at pass rusher anyway. There weren't really any elite pass rushers, but all the okay pass rushers were gone at that time. So,
Mhm.
but I thought that was still a good pick. What are your thoughts on Taquan Graham?
Yeah, Taquan's a kid, played a lot at Texas. So he played a lot
Hmm.
of big time ball inside at
Right.
tackle. Could probably play some DN in the 3-4 here. But I like that he was productive and he played. Again, they're looking for guys that can put on the field. And I think he can fit that role. He he's leaner than Babineau, but that's what I see. I see a steady guy in the middle who,
Right.
maybe not fast as Grady, but big enough to handle himself inside with them guards and maybe get off and make a play here or there. A lot of penetration. So yeah, I was okay with that pick. I know he's a guy that played a lot of big time ball, and they could get him on the field and try to develop him into a better player.
Now I don't know much about this guy, so I wanted to get your thoughts. What do you know about Frank Darby? I don't know anything about him, and it's not him. It's just as far as receiver is concerned,
Mhm.
I just don't know anything about him.
Yeah, he's exciting dude, man. We were out the year the Falcons played, stayed out in Phoenix.
Okay,
They practiced at ASU, and so I know Uncle Herm and Uncle Marvin out there,
okay,
Marvin Lewis from his days with the Bengals, and one of my classmates, her son's a tight end out there. So I was at ASU practices with the
okay,
Falcons. So I'm pretty. That's one of my good West Coast programs out there, and took my Pat Tillman picture, and they got the
okay.
statue. I love Phoenix and out there. So, but Darby was the next guy in line after N'Keal Harry and Brandon Ayuk.
Okay.
Okay, they
Okay.
put both of them in the first round the last couple years. And
Right.
Darby's he gets open deep and tracks it well, but he didn't play last year because of the pandemic and
Oh,
everything.
okay. Okay.
So it was his year to shine and move up, or at least get into the third or fourth round. And
Right.
so that didn't happen. So this was a deep dig into the film room, into the West Coast scout probably stood on the table for this cat, and he's an energy guy, real excited. Reminds me of Harry Douglas.
Okay.
Gonna move the sticks, tough guy, get open deep, tracks the ball well. So he's got a shot. He's got a shot to make the team.
Okay. Do you see him like if he makes the team that he'll be a guy that you could maybe pair with Calvin Ridley on the other side? Because it looks like they're gonna have to move on from Julio um, to continue to free up money.
Mhm.
So, do you see? Maybe not at the beginning, but somewhere maybe at the middle or near the end of this
Mhm.
2021 football season that he could really be, become a player to where you say, okay, we got something.
Yeah, I don't see his ceiling being that high. I
Okay.
see him being a slot guy. If something happens to Gage, because I don't see Gage stepping up into the Julio role either. Whoever that is isn't here right now.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so they got to try to figure out a way to keep Julio, but I don't. There's no. He ain't gonna take a pay cut, so
Nah.
it's gonna be really hard to do that. So yeah, I got one of the he's in that group with Alameda, Zacchaeus, Gage, Blake.
Hmm.
Them are all the same cats. I don't
Okay.
see a 1A or a big, even just a big receiver, 6'4" guy that you can just roll a button hook to. Or I don't see anybody in this collection of receivers, but we might not see that guy because Arthur Smith runs so much 21 personnel,
Right.
with the one back and two tight ends. So we kind of, maybe that guy's Jaden Graham. Maybe that guy is because he ain't gonna really be running a lot of go routes. He's running a lot of power and short stuff. That's why he loves Matt Ryan. He ain't really thinking about taking the top off
Okay.
until the play actions there, and you can do that with Ridley. So it's a different configuration of the team. I'm not saying they don't need two wide receivers, but they're not gonna be running three wide receivers as much as Dirk
Gotcha.
did and Clark did, and they lived in 11 personnel,
In
whereas
Tennessee. Yeah.
yeah, and in Tennessee they lived in 12.
So okay, so like we said, more of a
Pretty much.
power running game. So we got two tight ends, and so you have your tight ends, Ridley. Now it'll be a more powerful offense if Julio stays, because then you have your playmaker and Julio, and then you have Ridley. But if Julio is not there day one, then like you said, it's the power running game, the two tight ends, and then Ridley as your deep threat, or where your everything far as receiver is
Mhm.
concerned.
Yeah, AJ Brown. Yeah, yeah. They only had one in Tennessee. Corey Davis never did much. He looked good, but he didn't do
Well, he
much.
did it. He did it last year.
Yeah, yeah. He got him a contract with the Jets.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
1 year. So, like you said, it still wasn't. It still was. Now that's interesting because you just made a point where you said that a person that could replace Julio, or I mean, there's only one Julio, but I know what you mean. Trying to be that alpha receiver is not on the team yet, and so I looked at the Jets, and I think Corey Davis, and I think the other receiver that they signed, they're all on 1 year deals. There's a
Hmm.
there was a lot of free agent receivers who were looking for big deals, only signed 1 year deals. So maybe next year on the off season, Atlanta can get one of those other receivers, free agent receivers, to go with Calvin Ridley. Do
Hmm.
you believe that once? Here's my fear with the Cal Pitts situation is I'm thinking he's such a great playmaker, Orlando, and he's going to be so good for the NFL that this year and next year, after next year, he's going to be ready to. I mean, like ready to go at it. You know what I mean? Like Julio was, where he's going to be the lead guy on offense, and then Atlanta's going to be looking for a quarterback. That
Mhm. Well, no, I think uh you know, they've hitched their wagon to Ryan. I could see him playing 2 years and getting a new 2 year extension. I mean,
okay?
I know some of the fan base aren't really happy with that. As long as he's rolling, they're not throwing the ball 40 yards down the field, 20 times a game. We don't have Tyreek Hill here. So,
Right.
that they can stay with the kind of old school drop back
Mm-hmm.
quarterback, just like Tampa, and keep putting weapons around him. But if they don't protect Matt Ryan, he's not going to be able to keep going. So they clearly are hitching to Ryan for the next 3 years. I'm giving him his whole contract, and
Okay.
if you get to that year, the last year, you're gonna probably give him another year. So
Right.
the folks want to run Matt Ryan out of town. He's the best player, in the franchise history.
Yeah,
So
I
they're
think he's a
they're
yeah, I
not.
think he's a good quarterback, like you said. Yeah.
Mhm. But yeah, people see the change in the mobile quarterbacks, and they were used to Vic, so I understand that. But I'm like, hey, appreciate this guy while he's here. He's 36, only missed 3 games
Yeah.
in 13 years. So, if you can keep him upright, you go to the playoffs. It's real simple. And if you could build a defense, you'd have 2 Super Bowls by now.
Yeah,
But
we at least would have had to.
at least one. You would have beat Kaepernick and them. And I wasn't scared of Joe Flacco. I mean, Ryan's
Nah.
shoulder was
Uh-uh.
hurt, but you could have beat them. So I mean, they didn't. They failed Matt Ryan and the fans by not being able to build a good enough defense to go with what he's bought to the franchise for 13 years. So I'm not making excuses, but those are
I
just
know what you
facts.
mean. So you believe this coaching staff here is going to put Matt Ryan in a different position, whereas he's in a position to excel with his team and not necessarily have to be the one to carry the team. So
No, he's.
no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, he's never carried the team.
Right.
He had weapons. He had Roddy, he had
Yeah.
Michael Jenkins, he had Michael Turner run for 1,600 yards. That was Smitty's teams. And
Right.
the defense played good enough. Same thing with Coach Quinn's teams. He had Julio, he had Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. They put up a lot, and then he had a bunch of receivers. I mean, the one year he threw 15 touchdown passes, 15 different receivers, set a record. Seventh highest rated offense ever. That was because of the weaponry around him,
Right. Right.
and when he's protected, he knows where the ball's got to go. He never really just came out and slung it around and hung 40 on you and blew you out.
Sure.
They were in every game, winning a lot of close games, 38 comebacks, 36 fourth quarters. So, they've never had a powerhouse where they just went on the field and took somebody out. Although they did against Green Bay that year, but
Oh
they
man.
owe Green Bay. They owe Green Bay
Yeah.
from 2010.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just want to get back to being a highly functional a team that doesn't make mistakes and
Okay.
doesn't beat itself. And so that's what Coach Smith and them did. They didn't have no penalties. I mean, they were on point. You didn't see no 12 men on the field,
Right.
no delayed games, no weird timeouts to get a reset.
Right.
And so that was a well-coached bunch. And hopefully Arthur Smith and his staff can at least get that to that level of coaching to where the talent can thrive and perform at its best levels.
Well, it should be a fun season. And once again, man, I thank you for coming on the show. I thank you for all that you do in the city of Atlanta, keeping us all up on Falcons news. I'm gonna want to bring you back just before the season start. That way, we'll know, what the roster looks like through at the training camp and everything, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll with 2021 NFL football season.
No question about it, Otis. I look forward to coming back on. Thanks for having me here today. I hope the fans follow us on ajc.com. We got the big schedule coming out tonight. And they only got 6 games against teams that went to the playoffs last year. So, maybe this is 2008 again, where they
Okay.
came out of nowhere and went to the playoffs in Coach Smith's first year. So we'll see how it goes. And I'll be more than happy to come back on the show, on the interruption show. And thanks for having me.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Be safe out there and be blessed as always.
Thank you. You also.
All right.